Hello, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. It's Makeda Valletta, reporting from Baton Rouge. And so many topics to talk about. I have a long list of things to talk about with you all. But today, I want to talk about the fallacies of hope. So, those of you who follow me and are somewhat familiar with who I am and my work, you know that I'm a critical thinker. I really believe in critical thinking. And I always say I wasn't raised religious, right? So I wasn't raised with any organized religion. But I was raised by intelligent people, independent thinkers, people who use critical thinking skills. That was reinforced by my family. Oh, all of a sudden the sun is like super bright. The sun goddess. I bring the sun out. I don't care about the moon at all. I just care about the sun. Anyhow, and I was raised to believe what makes sense to me. And that's not just from like my family, but also from the schools I went to. I went to, my high school, a New York City public school, Beacon High School, which is an excellent high school. And my teachers, like my history teachers, who were white, by the way, but my history teachers did not believe in using history textbooks at all. So we never used textbooks. Instead, my teachers gave us primary documents and they gave us artifacts. And they would tell us, use your critical thinking skills and think like a historian. Think like a historian and use your critical thinking skills. And I used to wonder why every single day my teachers used to say, use your critical thinking skills. Why do they say this every day? And literally every day. And then I grew up and started living in this world and really quickly have begun to see how many people do not have critical thinking skills at all. And a lot of people's beliefs and philosophies about life and the energies that be and the laws of not nature, but the energetic laws. A lot of people's beliefs about that come from religion, right? Come from religion. Like, for example, this thing about hope. And religion also questions people religion teaches people not to question things. And that's even the indigenous religions sometimes. Like a lot of traditional African religions now, when you follow them, they still don't want you to question things. So if something comes out and a higher level priest tells you something and you are on a lower level, you're supposed to listen and do. Nobody wants to question and explain. Just like how people treat kids a lot of times. A lot of times people say to kids, oh, you're asking too many questions. Why are you asking so many questions? And it's like kids are new to the world. They're going to have questions. We should all have questions our entire life. There's never a time that you should stop asking questions. Hence why I never became a vegan. Because years ago, when I knew people who I considered to be smart who were becoming vegans, and I just kept, like, when it comes to my body and my health, I'm not trying to experiment. This right here is not an experiment. No. I do things that are time tested, right? I look at ancestral things, but depending on when you're looking at ancestral stuff, depending on when and where, but when, in that time period, that may be post-colonial stuff. That might be post-patriarchal religious takeover stuff, right? So that happened in different times, different places. So sometimes some people's ancestors, or if your ancestors are really sick, if you have, or just bad people, then you may not want to follow what your ancestors did. Not everybody has ancestors to be proud of, and that's real too. So even when we talk about honoring our ancestors, some ancestors of some people don't deserve to be honored. That's a fact, right? And sometimes even calling on those ancestors might cause a problem in your life. So the thing about it, what was I saying? Damn, I totally lost my train of thought. I've been having so much shit to say. Fuck. Okay, I forgot where I was going with that, but I had a point. So just bringing it back to talking about, believing things blindly. Religion will say, that's what I was saying, is that depending on who people's ancestors are or what they come from in the time period, that's not always something you want to look back at. Or you might look and see that they were really sick. So like you can analyze those things, right? But for me, looking back at what has been time tested, not just looking at what my ancestors have done, but looking at what healthy populations around the world have done for generations, that has kept them, when you look at, groups of people who are strong, who lived to be 100 years old on average, like that was nothing for them. They had 9, 10 kids, no problem. You know what I'm saying? What were those people eating? What were those people doing? You know what I'm saying? That's what you see over generations. Nothing, there's no recent study that can trump that. And you're not going to find a group of people anywhere in the world who were vegans. That is some new age shit, period. And when I see like African friends of mine, I have African friends who live in the US now, or they might have been born here, so they might be African American literally, or they may have been born in Africa, maybe raised there, and then came here. And they start to believe this bullshit, this vegan bullshit. And it's like, every African I know, and I have lots of African friends, have, whatever, like I know a lot of Africans, right? Now, a lot of my African friends are some of the best built people that I've been around, perfect eyesight, perfect bone structure, like body's crazy. Like one of my friends, my earring fell. One of my friends, I have a friend from Cameroon, and she grew up in Cameroon till she was 16. She's stronger than most men, like her bones, her muscle structure. When dudes even see her working out in the gym, a lot of men are intimidated. And she's just a real solid, structured woman. So when you look at all the people like that who are built that way, and they came from those traditional places, and you look at what they ate, none of them were vegans, okay? Like Africans, a lot of Africans will eat several different organ meats at one meal, you know what I'm saying? Because organ meats is where the nutrition is. So people consume bone broth. You see people eating blood sausage all over the world. You also see people consuming raw dairy. Like people say Africans don't drink dairy. I know they don't digest milk. I know Africans who grew up drinking raw milk. You look at the Maasai, they live off raw milk and blood. Okay, so this is not a nutrition discussion, but I just wanted to just prove that point of that. When I looked at those things, I looked at epidemiological perspective, historical perspective, anthropological perspective, biological perspective, nutritional science perspective. And none of those places did I see any evidence that vegan was the winner. Okay. So again, people don't know how to fact check and use their critical thinking skills and think for themselves. They really don't. Because if you really critically think about the whole veganism thing, this shit doesn't make sense for so many reasons. And I have videos where I talk about that on, my other page, The Body Scientist 81. Definitely check it out. But coming back to that, I'm just letting you know, I don't jump on bandwagons. I don't just ascribe to things because it's the popular thing. Like, I'm a smart person. I have all the confidence in my intelligence. I read scholarly text, and real scholarly text, not fake street scholar people, Brother Raheem and them. Like, no, real shit. And analyze it and use my critical thinking skills and study all perspectives. I remember when I was in the 7th grade, I was on a debate team. And I love being on a debate team. I'm an athlete, I'm a dancer. I love being on a debate team. I love an organized debate, not an argument, and especially not an argument with a fool. People that don't know what the fuck they're talking about. No. You go do some research, I go do some research. Let's write some shit. You got this amount of time to talk, I can't talk, and I can talk, you can't talk, and we go back and forth. That's what I like, okay? An organized debate with intellectuals. So when we talk about hope, hope is a great thing. Hope is a great thing, and we should be positive, right? But there's also being realistic too. And just because you have hope doesn't mean that what you're hoping for, you're going to get. You know, we don't always get what we want, no matter how bad we want it. We don't. The people that do get it, they're people who really wanted something really bad, and they got that thing, and then they want to go tell the world that all you have to do is hope. And I know you. When people say never give up hope, that's also not true, because on certain things you do need to give up hope, and especially when it comes to relationships. And relationships is something I've been thinking about more lately because I never used to like really pay attention that much. You know, like I paid attention to the relationship I saw that my parents had, things I did and did not want about that. And I've been single a lot of my adult life, you know, so I know myself really well. And a lot of the reason why, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being single, you know, like the important thing is to be happy. And there's a lot of people in relationships who are miserable. And I see a lot of people in relationships where their life seems like jail to me. And they seem so restricted. They can't move how they want to move. There's certain things they can't do. It's like having a job. When you work for somebody, you have to ask permission to take a trip. Like, I'm not used to that. You know, like, there's the pros and cons to being somebody who's independent and has more freedom. There's cons to that. There's things about that life that is rough, and there's the pros. And being able to move how you want to move and when you want to move is really something that matters to me. You know, like, it's hard for me to feel like people have control over me. And that's true, like, in a relationship, or that's true just in my life, period. Because I'm not trying to have control over anyone. You know what I'm saying? And if somebody has a sibling that's getting married, and that's a big deal, and their job says, oh, no, you can't go. Like, that's crazy. Like, there's important things in your life that your job could tell you can't go. That's fucking nuts. So in a relationship, you have people who are in very toxic relationships. And I think I started thinking about it a lot even more because, like I've been saying in my videos over the past, maybe since the beginning of this year, I've been really studying narcissism. And I thought I knew what a narcissist was before, and I didn't really pay attention to it that much. But as I've learned about this mental disorder that I think everybody should learn about, and I started realizing how destructive male and female narcissists can be in a relationship situation. And as I watch different things, whether it be, you know, different reality shows, TV shows, or just hearing stories about things that's happening to people in their life, you know, people that, I mean, from all walks of life, spiritual leaders who I know who might have been, you know, married to somebody for a couple decades or a few decades and finds out this person has a secret life. You know, there's all kinds of scandalous shit that people do. And to me, the kinds of boundaries that some people cross. Like, I've seen people on social media post things that say things like talking about how exciting it is to have sex with somebody that you're not supposed to be having sex with. Having sex with somebody that is taboo. And to me, when I hear that, that sounds crazy because it's like, okay, it's exciting to you to have sex with somebody who you're not supposed to be having sex with. Okay, so who should you not be having sex with? You should not be having sex with your friends' spouses and your friends' partners, unless you guys get down like that. If you and your friends get down where you guys have sex with each other's wives or husbands, and that's how you get down, fine. But if that's not how you guys get down, and you're fucking with your friend's partner, that to me is never cool. And that's not exciting. Like, I would never cross that boundary. As open-minded as I am, and I'm into open relationships, but I'm into people who are about that life, and that's what it is. Not people who are going around who don't operate that way, and they're doing scandalous shit. Like, I would never fuck with any of my friends do. Never would I do some shit like that. Wouldn't cross that boundary. There are people who cross that boundary, no problem. And there's people who cross it and they're sloppy about it. Like that shit that happened, you know, with Tristan and Chloe. But we all know you can't be surprised because he was already that way. That's the other thing. People show you who they are. A lot of people, they think that they will be different or this person will be different with me. And the thing is that sometimes people do get different. There are people who used to be fucked up in the past with other people and they change. That does happen. And so you take that risk if you think that you would be different. It's kind of naive to think that you would be, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible that you might be the person that this person may change while you're with them. Or some people will never change. Some people will always be like that. You know, there are people who change, there are people who don't change. People who are narcissists, though, don't change. And they are showing you who they are. And people are thinking, oh, like, you know, that person may make you think that they're going to be a different person, but you looking at the track record of their life, like Future, you know, got mad kids with like mad different people. And always, you know, so it's like when you see that, to think that this person is going to be different is a little bit naive. Now, let's say you thought this person was different. Maybe you didn't even know about who they really were. You thought you did, right? And now you're with them and you're in love with them. And this person cheats on you, you know, cheats on you. Because I'm into open relationships for that reason. I'm not about those games. You know what I'm saying? People be so like gun-ho monogamy. And, oh, I can't share my partner, blah, 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 blah. But they'd be the first one. Everybody that says that shit to me just had somebody that they snuck out their house last week. Or got some secret shit going on. And it's like, in that situation, you don't even know who you're sleeping next to. You don't even know who you're laying next to at night. I'd rather know who I'm laying next to at night. And let's just be real. Let's just be real. And it doesn't mean that, you know, if I am in an open relationship that there's no boundaries or that people are always doing something else or they want to. But it's like, let's just be real about whatever it is. You know, people are going to be together because they want to be together. I'm never trying to like hold somebody hostage in my life and feel like I have to play all these games to make him not look over there or go over there or be kidnapped by her or whatever the fuck. People are grown. You know what I'm saying? I'm not somebody's parent. I'm not trying to police anybody. I'm not trying to control anybody. And I don't want anybody doing that to me. Now, relationships still have boundaries. And when people define those boundaries and people are blatantly doing fucked up shit, you know, and you got people in relationships with people who are blatantly doing fucked up shit and have done it more than once. And they keep thinking, oh, like Little Mo, okay? Now I'm going to keep pointing to these, like, because I do watch a lot of reality shows and I have no shame in that. I'll do another video about that because I don't think this is all negative. There's a lot of things you can learn. But Little Mo, she has kids with a few different people, I'm not sure. I know she's married to somebody now. They have kids too. And this dude is a fucking asshole. Like, he's constantly cheating on her. And he's super jealous. Super jealous. Like, constantly cheating on her, sloppy about it. But if she's even around another dude, he's over here getting all worked up. See, if I was going to stay in a relationship with a dude who kept cheating on me, and he kept trying to beg me, oh, it didn't mean nothing. Okay. Then it's not going to mean nothing when I do it because I'm going to fuck him. Like, and we're going to make it even. We're going to make it even. That's it. But women who don't do that shit, who just keep staying, and this dude keeps, oh, men are going to be men. And then there's men who are just mad disrespectful. Like the shit that Offset did. Like, it's not like you're just trying to have a threesome. You doing that shit with her competition. You know what I'm saying? That's like a woman that's married to an NBA player. And you find out this chick is trying to have a threesome with two basketball players on another fucking team. No man would stay for a woman like that, and unless she's just turned on by that kind of thing. And people would not be trying to convince him, oh, you should stay with her, you should give her another chance. They would not. But this dude, like, first of all, you could have a threesome with your girl. Okay, first of all. You could just have a threesome with your girl, so what the fuck are you doing? Number two, like, you're going at people that are her competition. Like, that is wild disrespectful. And that's a boundary. That's a boundary that when that's crossed, it's just, like, to me, to forgive people for that, you know, that is the fallacies of hope. Keeping you in a fucked up situation, in a fucked up relationship. And there are people who stay in fucked up relationships for 20 years because they don't want to be alone. You can't be that afraid of being alone. Or maybe some people just prefer dysfunctional love over loving themselves and being happy. I don't know. I know I don't prefer dysfunctional love because I do love myself. And I am never so, like, afraid of being alone because to me, even if I'm single, I'm not alone. Like, I've always have lovers. I always have friends. I have people that love me dearly. You know what I'm saying? So that to me is not alone. Now, having somebody, if it's like, okay, this is the person that I'm building with, and we're gonna build this life together type situation, that's a beautiful thing. But who wants to do that with somebody that is suppressing your light, that is not letting you move how you want to move, where you feel like you got to be a different person, where you got to be arguing all the time? Because to me, I'm not one of those people where getting into arguments makes me hot for the person and now sex is going to be better. No. You getting on my motherfucking nerves and us getting into arguments does not make me want to have sex with you even more. It doesn't. It doesn't. You know what I'm saying? I don't like that shit. I don't like drama. I don't like people getting on my nerves. And that's why I remember when I was in my 20s and people, especially like, you know, like my early to mid 20s, people would be like, why are you single? And I'm like, I don't like people getting on my nerves. It's not that I wouldn't be in a relationship, but I didn't feel like if I meet somebody who compliments me great, but I didn't feel like I'm so desperate for this boyfriend, or I need a boyfriend for what people care about or whatever, that like I'm willing to just be bothered with somebody who's fucking annoying and all this drama and this and that. And it's like, I am who I am. I'm going to do what I do. So I'm not going to be with somebody who's like, oh, why are you posing in bikinis? Or why are you always dancing all the time? Or that shit won't work. You know what I'm saying? I'm not that desperate to be in a relationship that I'm willing to suppress who I am. And a lot of people do. And I hate when I see that. You know, even if it's a bisexual woman or a bisexual man, because people act like bisexual men don't exist. People act like if a man is fucking with dudes, then he's automatically gay. But there's a lot of bisexual men, and they feel like they have to act straight, right? But there are women in the world that are attracted to bisexual men. You know, there are women in the world who watch gay male porn. There are. So if you just be real about who you are, you can find a woman that will accept you how you are. It's better to do that than to be living a lie. You know what I'm saying? I'm not with that. I'm definitely not with that, especially not in this day and time and place in the U.S., you know. Maybe different in some other countries or whatever, but not here. So I think that people in this hope, like, you know, having hope that it'll get better. Oh, we've been together for this long. We have these kids. We've been together for 2 years, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, 30, whatever the fuck it is. And, or, you know, thinking that you won't find something better. There are how many billions of people in this world? You know what I'm saying? There's so many options for all of us. Having that kind of mindset and staying in something off of the hope, to me, that's when hope, that's when the fallacies of hope can keep you stuck in very toxic situations. Very toxic situations. And I'm seeing that more and more. People talking about, you know, I'm gonna pray on it, and like people be trying to do all these things, trying to do juju and all types of shit to make him love me or to make her never leave me. And no, you know what I'm saying? None of that is a good thing. None of that is a good thing. And although I'm not religious, I am spiritual. I am spiritual. I say a lot of different things. But what I resonate with the most, and is a lot of Native American cosmology, which is very varied depending on what we're talking about. But there's a common thread. So a lot of Native American cosmology, a lot of West African, Afro-Indigenous embodiment of things, meaning the dancing, the drumming, the artwork, the stories that come from that, the lessons that come from that. And even understanding, like within Africa, of course, just as complex as Native Americans and the cosmologies, but there's also a common thread. And if anybody has studied, you know, African spiritual systems for real, you know, like that shit is no joke. Like, meaning, yes, it has a lot of positive things. And there are people over here that will say, voodoo or whatever. A lot of times people use voodoo as the general terminology, but voodoo is actually a particular practice where you have many different ones, and they're all called voodoo. But people use voodoo as like the general term sometimes. But really, it's they're pagan, they're spiritual based, religions. And anybody who's really studied that, so there are people over here that will say, "Oh, it's not bad, it's good, yada yada yada," and that's true. There's a lot of good, but there is a bad side, and that bad side is real. And it doesn't even matter if you don't believe in it. Like, you could say you don't believe in it, but what I believe is that whether or not you believe in it, if somebody is sending that negative energy at you, strong negative energy, that shit can affect you. Like, you may not believe that a brick hitting you in the head is going to hurt you. But if it hits you in the head, that shit is going to hurt you. It's just that you can actually see that. It's something measurable and tangible. When you're dealing with the unseen worlds, you can't see it, And unless you're somebody who's a seer, you have certain spiritual people who are kind of psychic and are a seer, then it may be easier for them to sometimes detect that. But also when things are coming from a different system, like it could be a system that's not your system. So if somebody's putting some shit on you, you don't know how to break that shit because that's not even the system you come from. And one thing I can say from my own research, my independent research and beliefs based on what I have seen and know and my critical thinking skills, I feel like African-based traditions can be some of the most aggressive and strongest when it comes to being attacked. If somebody really wants to fuck up your life and fuck up your whole shit. Okay? So, this is why, at the same time, you do have Africans who run, I feel like, the exact opposite, where they're like so Christian and so Muslim and so like they don't even want to hear you talk about these traditions. Like they know about them, but they're kind of ashamed, or they try to act like they reject it so much. Because on the flip side of that, there are Africans who've seen some crazy shit, and they've seen some of the negative and how real that can be, and it might have scared them so much that they ran from it completely. So the thing is being able to like see that full picture, being able to see that full picture, observing the obvious, taking things for what they are. And sometimes you need to cut cords. Sometimes you need to protect yourself. Sometimes you need to remove yourself from situations. Sometimes you're in some toxic shit, and no matter how much hope you have, it's not going to make it any better. If you're dealing with a sick individual, somebody with some real fucking problems, you can hope and pray all day and try to do this little spell and think you're going to do this and that, and you're going to just keep yourself in a fucked up, toxic situation. And so I feel like people sometimes need to be real and stop being stuck on that, which I feel like a lot of that comes from Christian teachings of hoping forever. And that's the thing, what I was going to say about African spiritual traditions too, is that I feel like they are also, in terms of, like there's a lot of common thread between, like Polynesians, Native Americans, Europeans, Asians, every group of people and subgroup of people had their spiritual traditions, and they were all matriarchal at some point, and they all turned patriarchal. But they all had them, and it's a common thread, right? But there are also differences. And there's certain cultures that I feel like that specialize or have a stronger essence or a part with certain things, right? So, but I feel like Africans, even like African proverbs, they're very real. It'll be something like, if you go in the rain with no umbrella, you're going to get wet. Very real. You have to be able to walk before you can run. It's very true. You know what I'm saying? So like, they'll be like real, like straight up, like common sense, like real. And it has like a sense of humor behind it. The humor behind it is very like kind of out there, but just raw, straight up, common sense type shit. Observe the motherfucking obvious. Observe the obvious. Other spiritual traditions that teach so much peace and love and there's no such thing as anything negative, and nothing is bad. That's a lie. There's definitely negative shit. And oh, we choose how we feel. Really? If somebody murdered your kids in front of you, would you be choosing how you felt about that? If somebody started to cut off your toes, I think that you'd be in excruciating pain. Would you really be able to control how you felt at that moment? Could you really say, I'm going to be happy right now? No, that's some bullshit. So when people, like those kind of spiritual teachings to me is coming from a privileged place. There are people, like, yes, we can do things to affect how we see things, maybe try to see from a more positive light, which I do all the time, which is what keeps me sane. But at the same time, the shit I've been through some shit, but it's not as bad as some of the shit other people have been through. You know what I'm saying? Where some people have gone through things, but I don't know how you recover from that. Like the family in Florida that was in Disney World, and then their son got eaten by an alligator. Like, what the fuck? Like, how do you go on with life feeling like okay about that? You know what I'm saying? That's crazy. That's a fucking crazy traumatic way to lose your child. You know? And people can claim to recover or whatever, but if they never do, it's understandable. You know? So, but to say that people always are in control of how they feel about something, all we have to do is hope, and you'll get this thing. And all you have to do is ask God. Just ask God, or just put it in God's hands. No, sometimes it needs to be in your hands. Your hands. But yes, God's hands, which in Native American traditions are matriarchal, it'd be the great mystery. Native Americans talk about how the great mystery is always present. So no matter how much we understand, no matter how much we think we understand, no matter how much we seek to understand, the great mystery still exists. There's still going to be those things that never make sense to us, that we can never understand. Like when I remember being like 18, 19 in Greenwich Village in New York City, which is, if you don't know about the neighborhood, it was a very gay neighborhood. But I think it's changing. But I've been there lately. It seems not like it used to be. But it was a very gay neighborhood, and it was like the freaks come out at night type shit over there back then. And I remember, this is before I was 21. I didn't have, I never got the fake ID thing. I just didn't go places where I was supposed to be 21. And, we didn't have any money. We was just walking around New York at night. And I remember seeing people from the back who I'm thinking from the back that I'm looking at a male and female couple. But when they turned around, I realized that man was really a woman and that woman was really a man. And so I'm like, oh, so, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like the person I thought was a woman was actually dressed as a woman, but it was a man. And the person who I thought was a woman was a man who was dressed as a woman. So when I see them, I'm thinking, okay, does that mean they're gay? Does that mean they're straight? Like, I don't understand. And then I just say, you know what? I remember saying this to myself, my 18-year-old mind. Say, you know what? It's not for me to understand. I may never understand. Doesn't matter. I don't need to understand it. It is what it is. And that's what it was. And I've never tried to understand it. It just is what the fuck it is. That's it. Sometimes you just gotta do that, right? And so there's not for anything for you to hate or whatever. It just is what it is. So I feel like people's this idea of these absolutes with life, in the sense that, okay, African spiritual stuff is all good. There's nothing bad about that. That's not a balanced opinion. We're saying that all we have to do is, be positive when we get what we want. And there's people who have been positive their whole life, and their whole life was a fucking nightmare. And there's other people who are goddamn evil, and their shit seems to be thriving. Like Donald Trump, It's like there's beautiful people that like Aaliyah that like dies in a plane accident young. And then there are people who are fucking the devil, and their asses live a long ass time, and nothing really horrible seems to happen to them. So that doesn't mean there's no guarantees in life. That doesn't mean, and that's one thing that is true. There's no guarantees in life. You should be positive. You should be positive, and you should think positive things. But just because you do that, that's not a guarantee. And when people think that it is, they can be very disappointed from life and losing. Now, one example of that, or, we can try to have as much control as we want to have over something. And we should try to have, direct our lives as best we can. But at the same time, the great mystery still exists. And there's things that we won't be able to control. There's things that's going to happen the way we didn't want them to. That's reality. When you think about childbirth, okay? Childbirth is one of the times that I think if a woman is paying attention, if all people are paying attention, because you can learn from watching other people. You don't necessarily have to go through it. But let's say, the woman at birth, right? Like, there are women who will think all the positive affirmations in the world, and have all these beautiful visuals of what they want. And that's all they're focused on. That's all they're seeing. And then their birth is not that at all. Maybe they wanted a vaginal birth and they got, cut open and almost died, or, just whatever. It could have been something that was really traumatic. There's a lot of women that have traumatic births. And so it's like, okay, you're not, there's other women who think all those positive things and that happens. And it's, so it's like, yes, you should do it. It doesn't hurt. It can only help. And it's what you should do, but it's not a guarantee. So now if you didn't have that outcome, if you did all the things that you were supposed to do and you did all the visualizations and it was a nightmare to you, then how does somebody deal with that then? How do they then deal with that? Because of their high expectation that was the only thing that could happen. So yes, you want to aim for the stars and hope for the best and always do that. But you also want to be grounded in reality so that if shit is not that way, you don't lose your fucking mind. Okay? That's important. That's really, really, really important. And I think that because of that, because of people not understanding that, there's a lot of toxic situations they stay in off of hope. So next thing you know, now 20 years later, you're getting a divorce from somebody who you're like, who the fuck was this person? You just spent 20 years with them. So you have to ask yourself, what were you not doing and paying attention to that you were with this person for 20 years or 10 years? So to me, I feel like that's worse than being single, because a single person might have been smart enough to see that shit in the second month or the second year. And so they didn't spend 20 years with somebody that they now hate and realize this person is horrible. Who was I with? I don't know this person. This person has a secret family. They have a secret life. If you got bamboozled like that for all of that time, what were you doing? And a lot of it, you know what you were probably doing? Staying in some shit off of some hope. Okay? Hope can get you in trouble. Yes, you want to have hope, but you don't want to hold on to it. You don't want to be crazy glued to the shit. You want to have hope and be grounded in reality and observe the obvious at all times. Observe the obvious. Because we see who people are a lot of times when you're paying attention. And people want to be so forgiving. Another thing that religion teaches us, oh, you have to forgive. No, you don't. And just because you don't forgive doesn't mean that you're holding it in your heart. People say, oh, but you have to forgive because otherwise you're holding on to it in your. No, there's people I don't forgive, but I'm not holding on to shit. I'm not thinking about them. But I don't forgive them. No. Who made up the rule that if you don't forgive somebody, you're holding on to something? Who made that shit up? Where did that come from? Because people state that as if it's fact. And that's not fact to me. You know what I'm saying? That's not fact to me. That can be true, but that doesn't have to be the case. There's people who say they forgive and they are still holding on to shit though. You know what I'm saying? So no. Let's dig deeper. Let's think more critically. There are people who do things that's unforgivable. There are people who do things that's unforgivable, and you sound dumb saying you forgive them. It just sounds stupid. It just does. And if somebody else says, and that's my opinion, right? Just like it could be your opinion that we're supposed to forgive everything and that everything is forgivable. Everything to me is not forgivable. It's not. Including Jussie Smollett. Like, some people are like, oh, if he comes out and he just says what he did that for, I would forgive him and he apologizes. That dude's an idiot. Like, On so many levels, that shit was stupid. It was just like, and for what? What did he do that for? Because he was unhappy with his salary. So it's not even like, oh, he did that because he wanted to make a statement about social justice, which he didn't have to do, because there's enough real things happening out here where he could have just aligned himself with that and helped with that fight. There's a lot of people out here, a lot of regular people out here who have no voice because they're not, on TV, who are going through injustices that he could have aligned himself with and brought to light, used his stardom to bring that to light. That's what he could have done if he wanted to make a point about social justice, not make up that lie. But that's not even what the fuck he was doing, because he was unhappy about his salary. That is some bullshit, whiny ass shit. And I have no respect for that. You know what I'm saying? You can suck a dick if you want to get more money. I'm not gonna have a problem with that. But if you waste all of our time and almost possibly incite a fucking race riots, possibly make tensions worse in a city that has a history of racial tension, there's a lot of things. It's a good thing that shit didn't go left, but that could have in Chicago. Let's think about Chicago. That could have. You're wasting resources. I mean, just so many things. What an asshole. Like, no. And that's religion that tells people, oh, as long as they repent and they admit, their sins, they should be forgiven. Fuck that shit. I don't agree with that. And I'm not going to ascribe to that because people say that I should. You know what I'm saying? And so one thing with reality shows is that you do see a lot of toxic relationships, and they're real because a lot of people are in those toxic relationships, right? And it's a train wreck. And people allow themselves to be disrespected all in the name of love. Some of these people, not all of them, but some of them may not have gotten the proper love from their mother and father. So they are clinging on to this love. And that's sad. It's really, really sad. And I've had people that had to tell me that, when I talk about that, I've had people had to really point out to me, you are lucky. And I didn't necessarily think of it that way, because people don't choose who their parents are. Another thing that people always state, I think people choose their parents. I don't. Maybe in a few small situations, people choose their parents. But there are some people with some horrible fucking parents. There are some people with the most traumatic childhoods that just listening to it makes you just like, yeah, you don't even know what to say. And you can understand why this person's a drug addict and why they're forever damaged, because some people's shit is that fucked up from their parents. So do you think that they chose that? Do you think that somebody would choose a parent that would rape them at 2? Do you think that somebody would choose a parent who would neglect them and do horrible things to them? Like no, I don't. Okay? So, going off the premise that I believe that people do not choose their parents, right? Then, if you end up with fucked up parents, if you end up with a dad that doesn't love you, if you end up with a mom that doesn't love you, that's fucked up, because to me, you didn't do anything to deserve that. You don't deserve that, and it's just bad. That's just in some ways, some bad luck, because people also say they don't believe in luck. I do believe in luck. In some ways, it's bad luck. I mean, it doesn't have to be. It depends on how you look at it, because somebody can flip that later. But this is what I mean when I say in some ways it's bad luck. I'm saying because I never thought of myself as lucky because my parents love me. But when people have but the kind of woman that I am has a lot to do with that. And anybody who listens to things I talk about my dad all the time, and how much my father loves me, and how much I'm such a daddy's girl, how much my dad was there in my life every single day. How if I called my dad right now on the phone, if I had a phone right now to call him and he answered the phone, you will hear my dad answer me in the most loving way. Okay? So, therefore, and my dad, ever since I could think, my dad said to me, love who loves you. When I was a little girl, love who loves you. Do not sit around crying over a motherfucker who doesn't give a fuck about you. Don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Don't do it. My dad said, whatever man you end up with, all I care about is that he's as crazy about you as I am. So when you have a father putting that type of standard, and I have love from a man. I have a twin brother who loves me to death. We're twins. My other half is a male. Then I have my dad. So I know what it is to be loved and protected by a man. I know the difference between being controlled by a man and protected by a man. It's not the same thing. Some people use control and mask it as protection, and it's not. It's control. They're trying to be manipulative. But because you didn't have a good relationship with your dad, and your dad didn't protect you, and your dad didn't love you the way he should have, you don't know what that is. So you are now being tricked. Now you let this hope that things are going to get better and this person's going to treat you better, and you allow yourself to be disrespected. So to me, somebody who is single, balanced, loves themselves, and doesn't fall for that bullshit is actually more impressive and in a better situation to me than somebody who's in some toxic shit for years just for the sake of being in a relationship, just for the sake of saying they have a husband, just for the sake of caring what other people think. Like, you can't care what other people think. You have to be strong enough to stand up in your own shit. You have to be strong enough to have your own opinions, and stand by that no matter what other people might be trying to influence you to think. Like, as long as it's based on something balanced. Some of you aren't the smartest. You probably shouldn't make your own opinions. But no offense, but I'm dead ass serious though. So, like, it's important to use critical thinking skills, and if I'm anything, like a lot of people, you might see my photos, you might see me dancing. A lot of people don't necessarily listen to me talk. You should also look at my other page, The Body Scientist 81, because I am a nutritionist and a trainer, and I know a lot of shit about the body. I really, really do. And a lot of things that I talk about are not the common things that you've heard, but those videos don't get nearly as many views as when right now, if I there's probably people right now, I'm not even reading the comments, but there's probably people right now telling me, oh, damn, it's twerk or saying some dumb shit. If I post a video right now in a bikini and I start dancing, I'll get way more views in the next hour than I will on anything that I'm talking about. So that's another thing. When people talk about, this industry, the hip-hop industry, the entertainment industry, they are selling sex and they want to push this image, right? People have to understand that the entertainment industry, the music industry, the magazine industry, like, they're all businesses, right? So they're in the business of making money and selling. So in a lot of ways, they are a reflection of what the people want to see, because what the people buy and what the people look at and pay attention to tells them what the people want to see. So if you see half-naked girls on stuff, is it because the industry is trying to disrespect women and push this image of women? Or is it because people actually look at that and buy it? Sometimes it could be both. Sometimes somebody could be like, when it comes to black people. Back in the day when you had blackface, and black people also did blackface, in case you didn't know. But back then, black people, and this is why my grandmother hated any black person that grinned too much. My grandmother hated Arsenio Hall. She didn't like Martin. And, Martin is hilarious. Like, you can't watch Martin for more than 5 seconds without cracking up. But my grandmother, who was born 1921, didn't think any black person who was grinning too much around white people, who was acting too silly, acting too buffoonery, she didn't think it was funny, because she came from a time where that's all you saw black people doing on TV. And that was a lie. So that was not true. That was not how we were. And that was not who we were. But they were pushing this negative image of us that was false. So sometimes that does happen, yes. But then other times, the reason why you're seeing something is because it is what the people want to see. And sometimes it's a mixture of the two. But what I know is that when I post videos, I don't have an industry behind me. You know what I'm saying? I am a dancer, and dancing is about the body. I am a muse. Like, I model for photographers. I do artistic stuff. But I know that when I post something where I'm dancing, it gets way more views. So that's obviously what people want to see. People tell you what they want to see. And that's one good thing about social media is, social media has its pros and its cons, just like reality shows. But one good thing about it that people don't talk about is that now the people decide who the stars are. Like, before, it was just the industry. It was the modeling industry that said you're worthy of being a model. It was the record industry that said you're worthy of being a recording artist. And now because we're in the business of making money, we want to be sure we make our money back, then and the profit, that we're going to follow this formula that we think is going to get it back. They didn't want to take risks. So a lot of artists felt frustrated. Like, you hear artists say, I don't feel like I could be myself. They want you to be this. Like in the case with Lauryn Hill. Lauryn Hill said on her live album, that wasn't the real her. She said, this isn't the real me. I don't know the real me. She talked about the industry making up, this false persona. And then after that, Lauryn Hill proceeded to look crazy as fuck, to sound crazy as fuck. She looked horrible. And it's like, okay, Lauryn Hill. That was like the first time in the history of definitely this country, and probably maybe any country or most countries, where you had a dark-skinned black woman with nappy hair, kinky hair, who was not half naked, because a lot of women will always say, oh, they're making me be half naked, they're making me show my ass and titties, and you have that big breast and a big ass. Lauryn Hill didn't have a big breast and a big ass. She wasn't half naked. She was saying really positive things. She was dark skinned, beautiful, kinky hair, okay? African features, big lips, everything. Spitting realness. And that was too much pressure for you. The world worshipped you as this positive, black, beautiful image. But that was too much pressure. And then you proceeded to look like Homie the Clown for the past 20 fucking years. And sounding horrible. And coming on stage doing horrible performances. When there are really good artists out here that can't get booked for things, but she keeps getting booked 20 years later, doing horrible shows, looking horrible. Like if you were an NBA player and you couldn't jump or dribble, you wouldn't be on the team for 20 fucking years. Now you're dead weight. You don't have skills. Bye. We're not paying you for that. But Lauryn Hill's so lucky, she's still getting booked for stuff and doing that. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes the record industry, in her case, their idea of the fake persona they wanted to make up was actually a good fucking idea. It was making them money, but it was a better idea than whatever she actually is, okay? And I'm just going to say that. People could be mad, but it's true. Situation like Cardi B, right? Cardi B, self-made. She got on Love and Hip Hop New York because she already had a following from Instagram. I found out about her from Love and Hip Hop New York, and I fell in love with her. But 20 years ago, somebody would have told her, you need to tone that down. You're not going to be famous talking like that. She threw a whole shoe at Nicki Minaj, okay? Threw a shoe at her. And everybody kept saying, oh, it's going to ruin her career. No, it didn't. You ever watch Cardi's videos? Cardi says the craziest shit. Just whatever the fuck she wants to say. And it is not stopping any of her money. You know why? Because of her following, because of people that love her. The businesses are businesses. They want to make money. So they see, they don't give a fuck what she's saying because they know that she's still going to sell things for them. They know that they give her this contract, people are still going to be into it. You know, Snoop's been smoking weed. You know, I don't hide the fact that I smoke weed. Like, I have no problem with that. Like, people drink, right? You know what I'm saying? People take fucking prescription medication, which is way worse. I don't take prescriptions. I don't take antibiotics. I don't do that shit. That's the fucking problem. There's nothing wrong with smoking weed. Okay. And so it's like for people to feel like they have to hide that and oh my God, my image, and people are like, no, but you're into health, you're a trainer. Yeah, I'm really into health and I'm really into my body and I smoke weed. You know who else smokes weed? Every single singer I know. I know a lot of amazing singers, even people you guys know, and they all smoke weed. Swimmers that I know, Michael Phelps, smoking weed. You know what? Swimmers have the greatest lung capacity out of all athletes. Me and my sports science facts, because I'm a sports scientist. Swimmers have the greatest lung capacity out of all athletes. And Michael Phelps is smoking weed. He was like #1 in the world. What does that tell you? Does it really fuck up your lungs like they say? Okay. Critical thinking again. Okay. Critical thinking and fact checking, which is a whole other video I was gonna do. But let me just finish this up. I know I'm going off. Let me just finish this up. So Cardi B, you know, like you have now, because of social media, the people will say who the star should be, who the model should be, who the artist should be. A lot of times, the record industry has changed completely since the 90s, and a lot more things are possible, you know, because of that. And so, yeah, I don't even remember how that tied back into the whole thing. I forgot. I'll be having mad shit on my mind, as you guys can see. But And I wanted to do a video about critical thinking, but that'll be another one. I just wanted to do this. This was supposed to be about the fallacies of hope and how it can keep you in a fucked up situation. And so you really just gotta observe the obvious. So you gotta think with your head and your heart and your gut. Because some people say, "Oh, just follow your heart." Not always smart. That can get you fucked up too. Or follow your head. You know what? Your head always needs to be involved. Whether it's your heart or your gut that's activated, like you want to activate those things because your heart is a brain center in itself. It processes information in itself. It also sends out energy. I'm a Leo. Our heart is our strength and our weakness, right? And our gut, we feel a lot, but our gut is connected to our brain. The same hormones that act on your brain act on your gut. And so they're also connected. But your brain always has to be, your thought process, your critical thinking skills, your mind has always got to be a part of it. Another thing is your third eye, right? Let's see. Let's feel, let's observe in all the ways that we can observe. From feeling energy, from seeing things, from what we hear, from using all of our senses. Observing the obvious, being real, using your critical thinking skills, and not being afraid of the truth. And loving yourself. And if you practice those things, then you won't be staying in toxic stuff based on the fallacies of hope. And as I say this, I'm just making sure that I've said everything I need to say, because I know I started talking about the parent thing and that being a luck thing, because I had people point out to me, okay, you were lucky. And I think about that, okay, I guess that's true. And so, like, people, if people just need to know that if they have mother and father wounds, if they have mother and father issues, it's critically important for you to do the work while you're single, okay? Do the work to balance that and get a healthy idea and outlook about what you're supposed to be expecting and receiving from the opposite sex, if it's the opposite sex that you're with, or the same sex, whatever, your partner, right? It's really important to do that first if you actually want a happy life and a healthy relationship. And it's important not to use a relationship to run to because your dad didn't love you or because your mom didn't love you. That's not fair to the person that you're getting in a relationship with, because just know that if you have mom and dad issues, and if you have not seriously done the work by yourself first to work on it, then what you are doing to somebody else is selfish and unfair. But if you are not a good person, then you may not care, because a narcissist actually only cares about themselves. So if you happen to be dealing with a narcissist, or you happen to be a narcissist, then you won't give a fuck, because you just want to cling on to other people so they can save you. Save yourself first. Save yourself first. Love yourself first. Because if you go into a relationship and you know you don't fucking love yourself, you're going to make the other person miserable. And if you are somebody who normally does that, you're selfish. There's no other way to say it. And for those of us who have done the work, have healed our mother and father issues, or don't have them, or whatever, need to be woke. Also observe the obvious. Don't allow people to disrespect you and use their little issues, their childhood issues, to be abusive. Because that becomes the cycles of abuse. And then what happens? That abuser comes back with more hope. And you stay in it because of hope. So, more than hope, be woke. For real, for real. People use that word. But for real, for real. All right? So, and even in your sleep, be woke. Even in your sleep, be conscious. Be conscious. Okay? And I hope you all have a great day. This video will be on my YouTube page, Renaissance Amazon. And then if you're on YouTube, you can follow me on Instagram at _Renaissance_ Amazon_81. All right. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye.